Good morning.
Good morning, Sylvia. We'll be starting soon.
Thank you. Is Harpreet speaking?
Dr. Harpreet will be starting in a minute. Yeah, she's not yet
Ah,
speaking.
you're Bipsar. Hi, Bipsar.
Yes, yes,
Good morning,
yes.
Bipsar.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning. Deepsa, we should start or should we wait for a few minutes?
Dr. Harpreet, you can start. The recording is already on.
Okay. So, hello everyone.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Harpreet.
Mm-hmm.
Bipsar, I must leave at 11 o'clock or 5 minutes before. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it is all right, Sylvia. That is not a problem. I will send you the recording as usual.
Thank you.
Okay. So, hello everyone. We welcome you all to the ninth session of the data science program. So, in today's session, we will learn about various performance measures of classification machine learning techniques. Then we will also get an overview of feature selection and feature extraction. Then we will also do hands-on for the machine learning algorithm, specifically classification algorithm on our Codeomics platform. Then we also learn about the effect of the accuracy and the ROC. So before heading into today's session, let's review what we have learned so far. So in the last session, we have also learned about hierarchical clustering, supervised machine learning. Then we also learned about what is training and the testing data. Next, we learned about supervised machine learning techniques, specifically classification algorithms, which include random forest, sport vector machine, and decision tree, etc. Then we also learned about details into how a decision tree works, specifically binary decision tree. Then we also learned about random forest algorithm. Then we also demonstrated you how we can apply machine learning using T-Binfo server. Specifically here we demonstrated you about a random forest algorithm. So today we will learn about feature selection as well. And let me ask a few questions. So which of following is supervised machine learning algorithm? First, PCA, B, t-test, C, hierarchical clustering, D, random forest. So you can type your answer in the chat box. So yes, you are absolutely correct, Lydia. So random forest is a supervised machine learning algorithm. Training and test data set are vital for supervised machine learning. Is it true or false?
True.
Yes, you're right. It is true. So which of following supervised machine learning algorithm is also vital for feature selection? Option A, SVM, B, random forest, C, stepwise LDA, D, more than one options are true. So which of following machine learning algorithm is important for feature selection or can also be employed for feature selection? So yes, although you're true, that is random forest, but another algorithm that can also be employed, that is stepwise LDA. So the option D is true. So the next question, dendrogram is the output of which of following methods? A, k-mean clustering, B, t-test, C, principal component analysis, D, hierarchical clustering. So Lydia's D, Sylvia's D. Yes, you're absolutely right. That is hierarchical clustering. So now let's begin with today's sessions. So far, if you have any question from the last session or any confusion, you can ask me. So the last time we were talking about supervised machine learning. So now let's learn about various performance measures that are used to assess the performance of supervised classification prediction models. So this is a confusion matrix. So what is a confusion matrix? So it is kind of a table that is often used to describe the performance of a classification model on a set of test data for which the true values are known. So then you must be familiar with what are true positive and what are true negative and what is a false positive and the true negative. So when we are saying a true positive, for example, we have a cancer sample and it is also detected as cancer. Then we call that number that is true positive. So then we have false positive. So for example, we have normal sample that is detected as cancer. We call that as false positive. Then the true negative, as its name indicated, that is if for example we have two classes, so then if a normal sample is detected as normal, we call it as true negative. Similarly, the false negative sample will be if your cancer sample is detected as normal sample, we called it as true negative. So then there are various other important terminology that you must be familiar with. One is sensitivity. It is also known as recall or true positive rate. So what is a sensitivity? So it measures the proportion of positives that are correctly identified. So sensitivity measures how often a test correctly generates a positive result for the people who have condition that is being tested for. For example, we call that as cancer here. So how many samples are correct, cancer samples are correctly predicted in terms of the percentage. So that is what we called as sensitivity. So then specificity. So it measures the proportion of the negative samples. So here we can like say we can have how many normal samples that are correctly identified. So this specificity measure a test ability to correctly generate a negative result for the people who don't have that condition that we are interested or we are analyzing. So then we have another important term that is accuracy. So accuracy indicated how many correct predictions. So it includes both positive as well as the negative. So overall accuracy can be measured as a proportion of observations that are correctly predicted. So another important performance measure is ROC curve. So this ROC curve is also known as receiver operating characteristics curve. So now let's understand what is this ROC curve. So it is kind of graphical summary of overall performance of your model. So it represents the proportion of the true positive and the false positive at all the possible values of probability cutoff. So these are known as threshold values. So these threshold values means if you got a prediction, so you got the probabilities value. So probability values varying from 0 to 1. So this represents the relation between sensitivity as well as specificity at all the threshold values. So this ROC is also known as AUC. In many of the publication you will find this term AUC. So AUC means area under this ROC curve. So we have last time we have done when we have performed machine learning. Specifically, we used random forest. In that case, we have also extracted a features, important features, or we call that process as feature selection. So this is another important criteria, that is when you are dealing with supervised machine learning. So feature selection is a process of reducing the number of input variables when you're developing a predictive model. So why it is desirable? So why it is important? So to reduce the number of input variable to both reduce the computational cost of the modeling as well as to improve the performance of your models. So the what could be the different types of feature selection? So first one, filter based feature selection methods. So these methods employ statistical measure to score the correlation of dependence between your input variables or the features to the input variable. For example, you have the cancer or the normal condition. So it try to find the correlation between feature as well as that particular class. Another is wrapper feature selection method. So what these method does that they create many models with different subset of input features and select only those relevant features that performs the best. So according to the performance matrix. So these methods are unconcerned with variable types. So this method is considered as one of most computationally expensive method. Then the third method that we have employed last time, that is intrinsic feature selection method. So what are these intrinsic feature selection methods? So when a machine learning algorithm that perform feature selection automatically as a part of a learning of the model. So we call this as intrinsic feature selection method. So if you remember, we have used two methods. One is random forest that we have done last time, and another one is stepwise linear discriminant analysis. So this is another method that is act as both feature selection method as well as to develop a prediction model. So now let's understand the difference between features selection and feature extraction. So does any one of you is familiar with this? What is, or can you any one of tell me that what is the difference, major difference between feature extraction and the feature selection in general? So you can type yes or no if you are familiar. So if you are not familiar with feature extraction and the feature selection, okay. So the first difference, feature selection or the feature selection method is also known as feature filtration. And while the feature extraction methods are also known as dimensionality reduction. So can you name the any dimensionality reduction method?
PCA?
Yes. So you're absolutely right. So then in a feature selection, we select a subset of our features from the original set of features, which are the best representative of the data. While in the feature extraction, we build a new set of features from the original data. So then in case of the feature selection, it removes features with low variance and highly correlated with each other. So it kept only those features that are not correlated with each other, and they must be have higher correlation with the label or the class of the samples. While in case of the feature extraction method, it involves a transformation of the features. So if you remember, we transform our data or our gene expression into the new features that is called as principal components or PC components. Similarly, in TSNE, we call that TSNE components. So in case of feature extraction, it is not reversible because some information is lost in the process of dimensionality reduction.
I have a
So then,
question. When we did the
Mm.
PCA, was it
Remove
just
changes.
to visualize or also to do
so
the extraction?
yeah, so we used to do PCF one for the visualization, but we are visualizing. The goal is to understand the patterns within our data. So this is kind of more or less unsupervised machine learning algorithm. While feature selection is part of the supervised machine learning algorithm. So if you have a data and you are not familiar with how many groups or kind of samples are here, right? So which kind of analysis that you can perform. So what the first thing that you used to do, you just go with the PC and look at what patterns it representing, right? So based on the complete gene expression data.
Yes, but does it matter that you lose some information?
Yes, because you cannot, you cannot say that which exactly which gene is able to discriminate these classes of the sample or which set of the genes. You cannot say that, right? That is what the important information which is missing from any feature extraction method.
That's right. But then this transformed data, is it going to be used on another step? I don't think so. We just
No, we
visualize
don't
and make
use
a
that.
concept about and see the projection, isn't
Yeah,
it? Okay.
yeah,
That
that
makes
is what
sense.
its purpose only.
Harpreet,
Mhm.
I have a small question. So we can do feature selection or feature extraction if we have a large data set. How can we categorize? How can we reduce the data into a lesser dimension?
So this is depending upon exactly what you are aiming, right? For example, if you are interested to identify signatures, right? So for usually a PCA or feature extraction method is employed just to visualize the pattern within your data. So it is not going to tell you that what is which gene is important, but if you want to understand exactly which gene or how many genes can be considered as biomarker or signature for particular disease condition, so in that case we used to employ feature selection approach.
Okay. So if I want to rank the genes, so
Mhm.
I need to go for feature extraction or feature selection.
Feature selection eventually if you want to identify
So
some important genes.
if I have a 30K genes, and among them, if I want to rank, identify the top 100 genes,
Mhm.
so
Yes.
how can it be possible?
So you can you can run any feature selection methods, and then even in our last session I have shown you that how we can identify important features, right, based on the mean accuracy effect, if you remember that.
Yes.
So
So
we can actually rank our features depending upon their performance. Even apart from these methods, there are a number of the methods are also available in literature that actually used specifically for the ranking purpose as well. Even here in case of random forest and SV stepwise LDA, we actually we can rank our features. So you need to provide a particular cutoff values, right?
Yes.
So then you can actually use those features, and then you can analyze whether your performance of your model increased, or how much performance. For example, you are first running your any random forest or any supervised algorithm on 100 features, then you are trying to select, like try to reduce those features. You want to then select only like 50 features or top 10 features. So you can develop your prediction model on different feature selection sets, and then you can, if then next you can compare the performance of your models. And for example, you are achieving almost same accuracy, right, on training as well test data with 100 feature as well as 10 features. So eventually you go with the top 10 features.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so in case of the feature selection, specifically in classification problems, we select the features that will help us to classify a data better. While in dimensionality reduction, it is a generic and only depends on the data. So not on what you plan to do with it, it is just project your data into the lower dimensionality space to understand what is the pattern your data. So the example, some of the example, for example, we have in case of feature extraction, one of the method that is principal component analysis, and then we have also TSNE. Similarly, for the there are nearly 15 to 20 methods that are that can be used for the feature selection purpose. So the here the tools that we have, that is random forest as well as stepwise linear discriminant. So now let's go over this platform and let's perform a classification in R as well as in the Python. So let's go to the introduction to the data science. I made this lesson free for you. So this is the classification. So are you able to log into this server, and just make sure this lesson is available for you now, freely available. It is yet not available. It should be available. It is no more premium lessons. So can you again recheck, Lydia? It should be available for you. So Ridina, it is available to you, right? Because I make it free. Just click on the 7th lesson. It should be free now. Particularly the 7th lesson. me just, if it is not available to you, then we can also go to the Python lesson. So this is machine learning 6th lesson in the Python as well. So it is available both in R as well as the Python. So just make sure this lesson is free for you in Python or R. So that I can just practice that lesson, which is free to everyone. So Lydia, can you let me know, is it free for you now? Are you able to access this lesson, 7th lesson? Okay,
Yeah,
so we can.
in R it is free, but not in Python.
Not in Python. Okay, but it should be free. 6th lesson, I guess. It should be free. So does this lesson is free to any one of you in the Python machine learning? Okay, so let's go with R. So here, as in the starting, we are just preparing a data set. Yes, 6th lesson must be free. Yes, because I made this free right now. So this is the after just learning. Next, you can go to the next. So here first, what we are doing, first we are reading our gene expression table. So then we are just, then next we are transposing it as this. If you look at this data, let me just show you this data first. So does any one of you remember what is the difference between training and the test data?
Yes.
So what is the difference?
Training data is used to build the model, and test data is used to test the model. And it
Yeah,
is
but what is the major difference between,
training
preparing the
data is more in size.
large number of samples? Yes, that is
Yeah,
fine.
large number of samples.
But another one of most important key difference between training in the test data.
The tests
So let me
are
just
not,
show you.
the test data are not part of the supervised classification.
Yes.
They are needed to be used as a test on the model.
Yeah.
And the percentage is roughly, you can say 70% with 30 or 80
Mhm.
with 20, depends
Yeah.
on the available information.
So yes, but the major difference is training data have the class labels. That is what I was asking, that what is the major difference between training and the test data. Usually your training data must have the classes or the category, or we call it as labels of your samples. So this is while your test data will lack it eventually after the training. So your prediction model going to assign this class or the label to the test data. So it is going to predict the labels of the samples for the test data. So that is what the major difference between training in the test data. So if you are here, okay. So first we are reading this file. If you just run this file data, then we are just extracting IDs and sample. We are just first we transposing. The first step we after loading, we are transposing this data. Then we are extracting column name and row name, so that on the transpose data we can redefine these names. So once we have these names, then we are just preparing our test data as well. From the test data, we are going to remove here. If you look at this test data, we are going to remove, because we are considering the same data as training in the test data here. So we need to remove this column which contain labels, right? So here we are removing that sample. We are preparing training in the test data. Next, we are defining again row names and column names. So then the most important step, how you are going to develop your prediction model, right? So this is the step where you are actually going to perform your, or you're going to develop your prediction model. So here you're calling this method that is random forest. So what it is going to do, that it's going to find a relationship, eventually relationship between your data, that is genes, in relation to the samples. So these, if you remember, this is the class. So in relation to the labels, it's going to find that relationship. Then in case, as this is a random forest method, you need to define how many trees must be there. So this num tree is defined here. If you remember, look at this, this is defined as numeric 50. So number of trees are defined as 50. Okay. So then if you want to select the features, so you need to write, if you are not interested to select important features, then you can ignore this. You can make it false as well. So importance means, this importance is eventually going to make your feature, I mean, going to predict the performance of your features, right? So this is where we are going to develop this prediction model. So then we are plotting this, our random forest plot. Then here we are actually selecting our important features. So as we develop the prediction model from the R forest, we created an object where we are storing this model. So from this R model, then we are actually selecting only features. So here we are taking the feature as feature importance with this function. This is the function var imp plot. So this is the function where we are actually selecting those features. Then we are storing these features into the object, that is features. Then we are going to write these features into a new text.txt file. So this is related to the feature selection. Then the next part is ultimate aim of your prediction model should be that how we are going to predict the results for a test set. So here with the predict function, this is the very important function whenever you developing any prediction model. This is the function that you are going to use to prediction on a test data. Here first you're giving your prediction model, that is model object. Then you need to provide your test data. Then you are defining that you want to result in the form of response. So then we are just storing this object into the this prediction object, so making it as a data frame. Then we are just here we can print, we are printing this prediction. You can also even write this file. So we can even write dot, so let me write dot table. So you can create your prediction, store your prediction in a new file. So for read, first we need to provide the object which contain those prediction. Then we are defining the file prediction.txt. You can need not to define prediction file, just need to write prediction.txt. So these are your test predictions. Prediction.txt. This is so here we need to provide this object and prediction result. So then you are just printing your prediction model, and at last we are considering ROC. So for ROC, one of this is PROC curve is important. This is PROC package, which is actually used to plot or quantify your ROC curve. So for this, what you need? So you need actual labels as well as the predicted labels. So eventually you're going to print this ROC value. So if I run this code, it will take a bit time. So there are the different outputs that you got. So let me, this is what the ROC curve results. So this is how much value that you get, that is nearly 75%. So there are the two important outputs that I have write into the file. The first one is feature importance. So if you look at this, so here you get your features, then this two values, that is mean decrease accuracy. If you remember when we run our ROC curve, right? So sorry, random forest on T-Barn4 server. So if your mean decrease accuracy is 0, so you can discard all these values, right? So you have to consider only those features where eventually it's going to affect your ROC. These are the features that actually contributing to the performance. If its removal or its addition will increase or decrease the performance. So once you have these features, you can then select these features and you can remove all those features which are not affecting any which have no effect on the performance. So based on that, this table, you can eventually select only important features. So then we have another output, that is prediction result. So these are the prediction result on your test data. So against each of the sample, what now it is predicted. So this is how you can actually analyze. These are the important result. So then if you already have actual label, that is actual class of this particular sample, and this is predicted class, that is what when we call as predicted label. So then based on whether a particular sample is actually predicted or same, you can quantify its accuracy, its sensitivity, or as well as ROC. So for ROC, we need predicted values. These are the predicted labels, as well as we need actual labels. So then this is the error curve. So this is the important feature curve. So you can actually access which feature is affecting performance or not. So this is like we have also just plot these features. So the features which have effect on mean decrease accuracy, you can select those features as important features. Then this is ROC curve. So here this ROC curve for each of different kind of sample. For here, although name is not written. So for one classes of sample, for example, you are like normal like sample. So how many normal like samples, I mean, eventually how much performance you have obtained, that is like 82% accuracy. So similarly, you will have another different ROC curve for each of different classes of the samples. So does any one of you able to run this code? So does any one of you able to run this code?
Yes, it's running.
Okay, so have you got the results?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have any confusion regarding this, because it is very long, I mean complicated code, complete, I mean it is everything is written in one code. First we are preparing training and test data. So then next is main, the where we are developing a prediction model. If you already have training and test data, so in that case you need not to run all these steps. You just need to provide your training data, and here just you need to define. This is the main important function. So where we develop the prediction model. If you already have, you prepared your training and test data already, so in that case you can directly go for this step. But important packages that you will need, that is first this library random forest, that is most important package because we are calling this method, right? So second one, if you want to generate ROC curve, so this BBMISC, so if you want to all these kind of plots, so in that case we need it. But if you just want to get the predictions and prediction results, in that case you doesn't need this package.
Haripreet, if
Mhm.
we don't have a class, we cannot run random forest, right?
So if you don't have any class, so then you cannot run supervised machine learning directly. But what could be the option in that case? We have clustering methods, if you remember clustering methods, right?
Yes.
Like hierarchical clustering. So what this method does, so in case of even PCA, you will get some, some, even I'm not saying a PCA, but still you will get in specifically in case of the clustering method. So you will get those labels 1, 2, 3 or different clusters for each of these samples. Then you can make those labels and you provide those labels, and then you can run any supervised machine learning algorithm.
Okay.
So for example, you don't know what your data contains. Eventually what you can do, if there is no label in your data, first you make the labels like clusters 1, 2, 3. You can just create a cluster, I mean 1, 2, 3. So then you can actually find a correlation between some phenotype, right? Phenotypic. So if your cluster is defining some phenotype or not. For example, you are taking you have some cancer subtypes, so you got a cluster, for example I'm just giving an example of cell line, right? So for example we have breast cancer cell line. Here we kind of we have we in literature it is known that it might have 3 or 4 subtypes. So you don't know but your data contains exactly which sample belong to which class. In that case, what you're going to do, first you're going to run hierarchical clustering, for example, or k-mean clustering. So for based on the those clustering result, you will get some cluster ID. It is like 1, 2, 3. So then you can make the labels like 1, 2 or 3, then take those labels and then you can run your analysis, supervised analysis.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, Haripreet.
Okay. So the next, I think this, I mean, this is very complex code. So even it is explained very in simplest way. If you go to this Python, okay. So if are you able to access this lesson? That is, if I go to this courses, Introduction to the Data Science in Python, and select the 6th lesson. So usually for the machine learning purpose, in general, Python is, if you want to run some statistical analysis or visualization purpose, R is considered as best method, better language, programming language. While if specifically you want to develop prediction model, for that, because there are a number of the packages are available for the Python. Like even you might be familiar with the scikit. So most of the algorithms that are currently many people use to do run analysis for the supervised machine learning purpose, so they prefer Python. So if you go to the try, let me complete. So for this, to run any Python code on Codomics, first you need to download your expression table. So this is your gene expression table. So let's save this. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, so here we need to drop a file first before loading. So the file that you downloaded, just drop that file here, drop a file option. So before running a code, you need to import some of packages, like we are going to import pandas as PD, numpy as np. So just run this code. So specifically, whenever you're running any code on the Python, make sure first load these packages and drop your file before running this code. And it should be above this particular code where you actually calling this file. So you must import this file or drop this file before running the code. So here you can't run this, drop this file in the below box. So you need to provide it above box. So the next is, here we are reading this file as in case of, if you remember, pd.read.table. So instead of read table, here we define this pandas, we call this pandas. So then we read this file and then we just checking its dimensions. So data.shape, if you remember, in case of R, we use dimensions. In case of the Python, we use data.shape. So here it will let you know how many rows are there and how many columns are there in your data once your data get loaded. So in the next step, what we are doing, that we are considering all the features. So we are taking that values. Then we are also dropping ID column, and then we are just transposing this data, and then we are defining X and the Y axis. I don't know why we need it. So here we calling all the features together. We extracting all the features because it is in our first column. So we are taking that. Then we are taking your inner classes. Now with labels. So these are the labels where we are taking our in the second column. In the second column, we have if you just print even here by, so it will contain the labels. Sorry, not as. So first first here we are preparing our classes. Classes means the labels which it contains. So then with np dot unique, here with this function p, because we have multiple labels, like for each of these sample either of these labels, then we making it unique. With this simple command we can make it unique. We can print it which kind of labels we have in our data. So here we are getting those labels, and then we are checking how many samples are there. So if I just do that, we can check this labels. Then from the sklearn model, so this is scikit package. So you might not be familiar with this package. So for any machine learning purpose, so this is one of most important package. We call it sklearn or scikit. So if you want to learn specifically machine learning, so this is the one of most important one of the package which actually have lot of package for the machine learning. So from the sklearn, we calling this model selection. So this model selection means machine learning classifier. Then we are just calling this train and test split. So here how you can divide your data into the training in the testing. So this with train and test split, this is the one of important function that can actually divide your data set into the training and the testing. So here you need to define how many samples should be, should be in the training or the testing. So we are defining like xtrain, we are defining this class. This would be, if I'm saying xtrain, this particular object will have a gene expression label, while xtest will have a gene expression label for the test data. So what is y? So the y is actually the labels. So this is the classes. So in the y train, in the y test, these two objects will have the classes, that is the labels of the sample. Then we are just here with the train in the test function. In the x we have taken complete data, then in the y we have labels. Then we are defining how much test size should be there. So if here in this case we want to 40% data as test data set. So if you want to define like 30% data, you can define how much you eventually you have to define that percentage 0.2, 0.4 or 0.1. So it is defining the test size of your test data. So here you actually making your training and the test data. So we can print it as well. Just let it run. After that, we run this xtrain. So does any one of you able to complete this step? It's taking just too much time. Okay. So apart from Lydia, anyone else who is able to run this code? Let me open it some other as well. I guess it got hanged.
Consider.
Just it get hanged actually. So I'm running this code in another window as well. So you can actually print all these files like xtrain or test as well. You can print that and look at what these file contain. So for the print, you just need to like you if this function get load, then I will go to that. Okay. So just let me show you how we can print it. Okay, so I'm going to print, for example, xtrain. Okay, so here it already completed. So then once you have prepared your training and the testing file, it's like in the training, you have only numeric values, X test numeric value for the test data, Y train will contain the labels, and Y test will contain the labels for the test data. So once you're able to do that, the next is we calling classifier, which classifier we want to run. So with a simple function that is sklearn.ensemble, from this is one package from where you can call this classifier. Here we want to run random forest classifier. So if you want to run SVM, then that classifier can be called by SVC. So then we again here under the random, here we are first creating a model. So with the random forest classifier, so here you just need to define how many trees you needed. Then you are going to fit your model on your training data. So as this training data xtrain, it contain numeric value, while ytrain will contain the labels of your samples of training data. So this model data fit then on the x test, which contain X data 40%, which contain numeric value for the test data. Under here, model dot predict. So we are almost using the same function here. Here only you need to define first model because where you have created your model. Then you just need to define model dot predict, and here you need to provide the numeric values of your test data. So it is going to do a prediction. Next, you can actually print the predictions. So here if we just write predictions, we can also print these predictions. Okay, so these are the prediction, means the predicted label. So it is going to print that. So for each of these sample, what is exact prediction, the for the 40% data, what it predicted. So all the labels we will get that. So then next is classification report. Here you can generate the confusion matrix. So and accuracy. So all those things here with the this is from this classification report. So this is important function that we are going to call. Then confusion matrix. So confusion matrix is the exactly how many samples are correctly predicted belong to each class that I have shown you in the PPT. Then with the accuracy score, we can predict the accuracy. So then once we have that, we are storing this confusion matrix here by test and against the prediction. So the what was the y test here? The actual labels of your test data, and predictions contain the predicted labels of your test data. So here we are going to considering only two values. We need y test, that is actual label, and prediction, which is predicted labels of your test data. With the confusion dot underscore matrix, you can generate a confusion matrix. Then classification report, that is CR. So we can generate with classification underscore report, with this function we can generate that. And model underscore accuracy, with this function we can actually quantify the accuracy of our model on a test data set. So if we run that in the next, we can actually look at what is confusion matrix, what is your classification report, and what is your model accuracy for this particular model. Although this Python takes a bit of more time in comparison to the R. So now we can actually print each of these confusion matrix. So this is what the confusion matrix result you will get. This is the kind of labels it defining. So how many 0, 1 or these kind of labels it defining. Then you will get the classification report, which we stored in the CR report. So against it will let you know how much precision you have obtained. Then recall value. If you remember, recall is sensitivity, then F1 score. So these are another performance measure. So you will get all these complete information in classification report. Then this is the model accuracy. So simply how much accuracy, that overall accuracy you have achieved for your model on a test data, that is nearly 80%. So next we are going to print these values. Confusion matrix. So here we are going to print our confusion matrix. We calling this confusion matrix and we are just plotting it. So this is what a confusion matrix here. So how many Basel samples are correctly predicted? How many Claudine Low samples are correctly predicted? So if you remember last time I have shown you how you can actually understand how many samples are correctly predicted. So if you go to the diagonally, so you will get exact values that are going to correctly predicted. Here all the Basel samples are correctly predicted. From the Claudine Low samples, only one sample correctly predicted, luminal. So here all the luminal samples are actually correctly predicted, that is 11, but none of the normal sample is correctly predicted. So it gives the 100% prediction for the basal as well as the luminal sample. So in the next part, that is for the ROC curve, how we are going to generate ROC curve. So from here this particular package, that is ROC_curve, and you see these are important function that is going to generate your ROC curve. So if we run this code, okay, so we are actually plotting in the next step. Here we are going to generate only ROC plot, and then this step we are just plotting that. So for each of these classes, for example, how many ROC we have achieved. So for the basal samples, almost 100%. Claudine low samples is 1. Then we have normal like samples. But although it seems a bit weird to me because we have not, all the samples are not correctly predicted for the normal like samples. So there might be something is not right in this particular code to print specifically for in terms of predicting. So then similarly, here we are calling SVM. So for the SVM that we lead, if you remember, we have two types of, maybe you might be familiar. For the SVM, we could have a linear SVM, then we have a, that is RVF, that is radial factor. So here we calling the linear SVC. So first here again, we are generating only training in the test model. Already we have, so if 60/40, we dividing that. Then in with linear SVC function, we are creating this model, and then we fitting this model on the test data, and we are going to predict on the test, eventually on the test data. So this is the same confusion matrix. So here we just, in case of the Python only, you need to define which algorithm you calling. You just need to define that algorithm here, and then the parameter it requires. For example, linear SVC require the C value. So there is the C and G value for the SVM. Then similarly for the random forest is number of trees. So we need to just provide that, and when we developing a prediction model. So once you have run that, then you can run model accuracy. Then you will get this complete report again for this linear SVC. Then model accuracy. Here it is, this particular SVC linear is performing better than random forest, as here we are obtaining nearly 95% accuracy. So then you can actually employ different algorithm eventually which classify your samples with the highest performance. You can define that particular model. Then here we are just selecting the features. We are printing those features. These are all the same things. Here we again just plotting the confusion matrix. So if you want to plot that, otherwise you will get other results as well. So these are, here we are selecting important features, 30 important features. So again, if you remember, like based on its performance, that is positively, which are affecting performance positively and which are affecting performance negatively. So you can select your features and you can make that cutoff always. So this is again ROC curve. So then at last the predictions, you can actually print the predictions. So these prediction would be the actual predicted labels. So the major important points here, first when you're defining your model. So this is like random forest classifier, you calling your model, then you just need to define one parameter for that. So for example, if you just go through the sklearn, so this is one of very important package if you are interested to work on machine learning. So that is one of the most important package. So here you just need to call those functions. We need not to create the functions. We just need to call those functions only. And this is the important how we are actually defining training and the test size. Training, how we can prepare training in the test size. So this is the main important function, train underscore test underscore split. This is the important function. Here we need to provide complete data set, then label, and we need to define test size. So this is the random state just to define that we should get the same results. So does any one of you able to run this code or not? So just at least start this code so that if you face any problem, I will try to resolve it right now. Because most of people facing a problem whenever you're running a code in a Python. Yeah, Python here this is slow. Otherwise, Python is sometimes depending upon the data set. So yes, here this is slow. Python is actually working very slow.
Excuse me.
Mhm.
Hello.
Yes.
There is a sometimes drop a file. I understood what a drop a file in gene expression table. I understand that you have to drop it there, but then you have another files to drop. Like from where do I get it?
So on the platform you can drop a file, but if you have already Python or you already have your already installed Python on your system, in that case you need not to drop. Where you get this data,
Yes.
like here already this gene expression table.
Yes, but then there is a kind of below there is also not in pandas, but if you see this page after, like there is like again like drop a file, another one like.
Yeah,
this
but
one,
we
for
need not
example.
to. We just if we need additional files in that case. But the important point, whenever you're reading a particular file, right? So to read that file, you need to provide file prior to running that code. So prior to running that code means we have to provide it above box, which is above of before running this code, right? Must be present above of that. We need to provide so that this system should understand that you already have this file. So because in here it is just reading it. If you providing it below of this code, because here it is not going to take this, right? So you need to provide an above
You have
code block.
First drop a file and then second drop a file. So the second one, where do I get it from? Like, is it like from the code below, above, or from where?
For example, you want to call another file. For example, you have already training and a testing data. First you want to call a training data. So then if you want to have your testing data, so for example, then you can call that file later as well. So this is like if you have multiple files and you want to call those files at different steps, right? So this is just we have provided that facilities so that you can, if you want to run a particular step, suppose you have already stored these features, right? Write these features into a file, and then you want to call those features, right? Later. So then you can actually drop these files in a later steps.
But generally, like to run this call, to run this code, we don't need to drop files except of gene expression table, right? And then you just run the code, right? Or you need to drop a file all the time, like.
Not on this platform you need to drop a file, but if you are running on your own system, so in that case you don't need. Suppose you are running on notebook or something.
Let me tell you, for example, to drop a file, to run particularly your code, I need cell lines 52 samples express data for the first drop a file. But for the second drop a file, do I need to drop something or
No, 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 no. You
It's
need
already-
not to. You just
okay.
here you just need to drop
Okay.
a file here where we are reading this data.
All
But
right. Mhm.
only you just before reading this data, you just need to provide that particular input file.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, understand.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because
So
in this step,
mhm, mhm.
so you can practice it so that you are not facing any issue. That's why I ask you, must we practice with me? So that you understand, and then you can modify your codes accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Can you practice it and just make sure it is working for you so that you are not facing any issue after the session? I want to be sure. And just let me know, is it working for you or not? So just practice these codes even after the session. And if you face any issue or you have any query, so you can post your queries on in a chat, I mean on the forum as well. So is there any questions? So do you have any question? If there is no questions, so I think then we can end this session. So if you face,
Mhm.
okay,
Har-
yes.
Basically, when I run the code, I press run. It says code is not completed. Like, but maybe I need to input the. I didn't
Okay,
input
so
the expression table. Like, but like nothing is happening in a way. Like,
okay, so have you completed the first step? For example, let me just show you. So when you're running this code, complete, then go to next. Then in the next step, you
the
need
next
to go
step.
to,
The next step, like you already have file inputted, right?
yes, for example. So here you need not to define anything. You just need, here each complete code is written and you can actually learn what is happening in each of code. So this is learn the code. So once you complete it, then try it yourself. So
Yes.
under the try it yourself, first what you need to do, you just need to download this file on your system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you downloaded this file?
I downloaded, but I didn't input it as yet. Maybe that was a
Okay.
mistake.
So what
Okay,
next
so I
you need
tried
to
to.
do?
Mhm.
Okay, let me just delete it from here. Joe, I just need to drop it here, right?
Mhm.
Once I drop it, now I can run this code, right?
Mhm.
It will take a bit time because I have already run this code, so it is immediately get loaded, right? So
Mhm.
I have not restarted. It will take a time. Once you've done that, once you get that answer is correct, right?
Mhm.
You successfully run the code and you will get this loaded packages. So then you can go to the next step. So here, because Python is run in a stepwise manner, so here you need not to provide any other file because we have already provided this file here.
Okay, I will try and I'll let you know. But honestly, this lesson and the previous lesson, for me, it's disaster. I understand nearly nothing. So I don't know how I'm going to learn all of this. Or I don't know if I need it for RNA expression data for the project. I don't know what you suggest because like I just have like simple RNA expression analysis. I don't know if I need the supervised machine learning for this
Okay,
project.
so I think I can we can actually discuss for your project, right? We can discuss it. I think we can plan a meeting to discuss exactly what your data have and then what kind of analysis we can perform on that, right?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm ready to share my data if you send me email, because I can share it with maybe Google email.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, Lydia. So, and and on this note, I also wanted to add something before we end today's session. So tomorrow we are basically having a project presentation session with our research fellows, and I wanted to invite you all to that session. So it will also be at this very same time, the time that we have the data science classes. Tomorrow at that same time, which is 9 a.m. CST, we are going to have that research fellowship presentation where we would be discussing different projects by our research fellowship group and also get introduced some new research fellows. So you all are welcome to come and join. I'll be sending you the link. And as for the one-on-one meeting with Dr. Harpreet and discussing your project, you can just request that meeting and let us know your time when it is a good time for you to meet with us, and I will be setting up those meetings.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
So the Lydia, can I know the time zone that you are in? Your time zone.
Basically, this time 9 o'clock is perfect for me, because like you have a 9 o'clock and I have 4.
No,
So
I'm just asking
yeah.
in which time zone you are, so we can actually set a meeting accordingly.
I mean, what time is good for me to set the meeting, right?
Yeah.
It's the same time, like now, that would be perfect.
Okay. All right. So Lydia, I will be getting back to you with time on that, but you're please welcome to join tomorrow. I know that Rudina, we already have like a set time for you. So
like if you don't have exactly this time, we can meet before. For example, I don't know.
8 a.m. CST
8
works
o'clock.
for you. Yeah, 8 a.m. CST also works for you. Perfect.
Yes, 8 o'clock is good.
Okay.
8 o'clock,
All right.
but I will have most probably 15 o'clock, something like.
Okay, 3 p.m. CST. Okay.
Yes, it's good.
Okay, 8 to 15, right. Thank you so much for sharing, Lydia. I will be setting up a meeting with you within
Thank you
this
very much.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so Vipsa, I think Giriza is also want to discuss some research questions.
Yeah, sure, Girija. So you can also let us know like what time works for you.
Yeah, I am in AEST, Australian timings.
Okay, you are in Australian time zone. So, okay, so I think Australian time zone, we can do it like kind of like early in the morning as well, because Dr. Harpreet would be in the IST time zone. So that should not be any problem. So Girija and Lydia, I will also reach out to both of you with a time that we can all meet and discuss about your individual projects.
Thank you, Harpreet.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today's session.